Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. That certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's trivia theme is miscellaneous trivia. We do have a special guest, Ted Thomas, and I'm going to read a little bit. First, I'm going to give you the title of the show. It's tax deed and tax lien investing, which is interesting because we actually gosh, we've been doing this show for 10 years now, and no, 14 years now, and I don't think I've had one guest who knows a lot about tax lien investing, so this ought to be interesting. All right, and I'm going to read a little short bio here for our audience. Ted Thomas is America's preeminent authority on tax lien certificates and tax deed investing. With a commitment sparked by witnessing his parents' struggling financial troubles, Ted has dedicated over 3 decades to teaching investors about secure, high-yield, low-risk and government-sponsored tax lien certificates and how to invest in tax deeds. During his long career, Ted has pioneered many techniques and strategies for investors and professionals. Today, he is the single largest source of tax lien and tax deed information education in the world. Holy smokes! Ted Thomas.
I better be good after that intro. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I better be good.
Wow. That's right.
Holy Toledo. By the way,
Okay.
you were talking about Marin County and all that. I'm from Danville, California.
I didn't know that. Now
I
you're
invented
all
this.
the way
I
across the
invented
country.
this business from Danville, California. Absolutely,
Yeah,
the base of Mount Diablo. Yeah.
yes, we know it well. This is a Bay Area show. Now you're actually in Florida, and right now you're kind of dealing with the weather there.
Yeah.
And I got to think now. I know just a little bit about these tax lien certificates. I got to think that they're going to be more prevalent outside of California. Is that right?
Well, there's 2 things to think about. There's a tax lien certificate, and then there's a tax defaulted property. Tax lien certificates are actually legal in the state of California. However, no treasurer in the state. You go have 58 counties in the state, and they don't sell tax liens, but they do. They do have tax defaulted property, and it's the most liberal state. And I'll tell you about that as we go along if you have a question about it.
Sure. Okay. So let's start off with the basics.
Okay.
Explain tax lien certificates and tax deeds.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So the United States has 3,000 plus counties. Okay. Every county has the responsibility to collect property tax. Okay.
Correct.
So all 3,000 counties will collect property tax. About half of the states will have what they call a tax lien certificate. So about 1,500 or so of the counties will sell tax lien certificates. But let's make it simple. Let's talk about California. It's going to be a major audience. All right. In California, if someone doesn't pay their property tax, their local government, the local treasurer, will send them a default notice. California is very liberal, the most liberal. And so what they will do is they'll send a notice and say, you owe the tax. All right. They will send the same notice next year. People cannot pay their taxes, believe it or not, for 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, what the treasurer will do is they'll announce a notice of default, and they will basically what you would call, if you're a real estate person, you'd call it a foreclosure, which is a tax foreclosure. The property will be defaulted, and they will confiscate the property, and then they'll put it up for auction. It doesn't matter whether it's in Alameda County, Contra Costa County, LA County, San Diego County, Alturas, wherever you want to know. They are going to put that property for auction, and the starting bid will be the back taxes. Because
Let me
the
ask
county
you a question on that. I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit. What happens if the taxes exceed the value of the property such that nobody even puts a bid in for the real estate taxes? Does the state own the property at that point, or what happens?
The state owns the property the second it goes to auction because it's been confiscated. They took it away. They pushed the people off. The state owns it. They will take the property anyway. It's their responsibility. Those properties end up on what we call a surplus lands list. Every state, every county has surplus lands. You can buy those for pennies on the dollar. Absolute pennies.
Gotcha. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here. This is going to be good stuff. We're going to talk about a lot of good stuff here. All right, our first trivia question, and again, just a reminder, Ted, if you know the answer, don't say anything until we get right back. We want to see if the audience knows. What is the most commonly stolen food? What is the most commonly stolen food? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer, excuse me, wins that tanning certificate, which, by the way, is worth over $100. Do want to make a mention here for the Lum Hotel, just minutes from LAX. The Lum Hotel offers travelers a comfortable and convenient stay in an exciting neighborhood. Its prime location provides easy access to major attractions such as SoFi Stadium, Hollywood Park. And Hollywood Park. Check out lumhotel.com. Stay with us. The best of investing. You'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Ted Thomas. We're talking about tax lien certificates and tax deeds. But we do want to talk about first our first trivia question. What is the most commonly stolen food? What do you think? Ted, any idea?
I don't have any idea.
You ready for this? Cheese.
Cheese.
And I guess maybe because there's some cheese that's very expensive. Yeah, cheese apparently is the most common.
Maybe it's easy to carry. It's easy to carry, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, kind of smelly if it's Limburger cheese, but
okay.
Oh dear. You don't make that anymore. All right, so we're talking about tax lien certificates, and now I read in your bio that you're the single largest source of tax lien and tax deed information education in the world. What do you do? Do you go around the country, around the world, teaching people about tax lien certificates?
Actually, what happened is the world changed. Everything's electronic now. I actually created electronic maps where I can sit at your computer. I can just teach you to sit at your computer, and you can access 100 million properties in the United States. We can access every property sitting at your computer. So let's say the county publishes an auction list. I'm going to hold up an auction list for Los Angeles County to give you a little shock, okay? This is an auction list.
Now, since we're a radio show,
I know, but you can describe what I'm doing. What I'm holding up is a book, size of a book. It says over 100 pages, and it has 2,500 tax defaulted property in that one county.
Wow.
Not the state, that one county. San Bernardino will have 3,000 at every auction.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Tax defaulted properties.
I mean, how many people can look? You obviously can't look at all 3,000, so you got to hope that there's a whole bunch of from the county standpoint.
Actually, we show people how to narrow the list down to the precious few that they want. That's what we do. I've been teaching it since I left Danville, California 30 years ago. I've been teaching people how to buy tax defaulted property for 30 years. I've done everybody that's on the internet's done things they change every month. I've been doing the same thing for 30 years.
Gotcha.
Tax defaulted property only. Every state, doesn't matter whether you want to talk about Arkansas, Portland, Maine, or wherever you want to talk about. We got people doing it.
I know the one caveat that people have to be careful about. Sometimes they have to do a deep dive to make sure that the address and the APN number and everything is accurate. Because I've heard of people accidentally buying a pig in a poke. They thought they bought it on a building, some vacant land that was worth nothing.
Well, people are going for auction, take the number off the house and put it in the house across the street. There's devious people out there, but you don't have to worry about that. We teach them how to. The assessor is selling an assessor's parcel number. They're not selling a street address. They do not sell a street address. They sell an assessor's parcel number. All they know it's a parcel, and that's what they sell. That's what they sell.
So it's up to your students to check it out and make sure, okay, this APN number matches whatever they're looking at. I know some of these things are like dirt cheap. You can buy, for $100 because the taxes were so low, and in Arkansas or something. But California is probably going to be some higher ones.
You're going to find a lot of $100,000 and $200,000 houses in Arkansas now. That's a good state for us to make money in right now. Los Angeles is showing an average value of $900,000 median price, so there's a lot of unaffordability there. And so in California, what they did is they have a liberal state that's going to allow the taxes to accrue. So if you didn't pay your tax, it's no panic. You're not going to lose it. If you didn't pay your taxes in Texas, 180 days later, you're out of that house. 180 days, you're out. In California, you can go 5 full years of unpaid taxes. Then they'll confiscate. So that means they're going to start their auction at the back taxes. So it'll be 5 years of back taxes before.
Plus the penalties and interest, which will probably add another 100% of 1 year's worth because of all the
So
extra.
you're going to pay all that. So you'll have to pay
Yeah.
all that at the tax defaulted auction. So, but they're going to have big auctions throughout not in the Bay Area. You won't get a property. Guarantee you won't get one. San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara County. You will not get. It's not going to happen. The brokers, there've been enough of them come to my class in 30 years. They go buy the property before it ever gets to the auction. But the rest of the counties, whether you're out there in Stanislaus in the Valley or in Sacramento, wherever, you can find property. You can always find some in Marin, Contra Costa, Alameda County. There's always properties that are going to auction in those counties.
And from the average homeowner standpoint, they might know that, things are just accruing, but at some point, don't they realize their house is worth much more than the taxes being, and wouldn't they just sell the property?
You would think people would sell them.
Stupid, but
Well, there's people that know how to manipulate the market. So there's some people who buy a house, not pay anything on it, and because the tide brings all the boats up, so it didn't matter where you live, your house is going up in value so much, and then they'll sell at the last minute to an opportunist that's trying to buy a house for a bargain, and that happens all the time.
That's what I would think. Tell you what, we're going to go to our second commercial break here. With miscellaneous trivia. What do you call a startup that's valued over $1 billion? There's a certain name for that. What do you call a startup that's valued over $1 billion? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. Do want to make a mention here also for the Axiom Hotel in San Francisco. Located in the heart of Union Square, the Axiom Hotel blends a sense of history with modern touches. Guests rave about the staff and how quiet the hotel is, which is great because since it's in Union Square, you'd think it'd be noisy. But they talk about how quiet it is. Check them out, axiomhotels.com. All right. Let's see here. Also want to make a mention for Mountain Mike's Pizza, best pizza in San Rafael. Check them out. Mountain Mike's Pizza, San Rafael. All right. Stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Ted Thomas. We're talking about tax lien certificates et al. Let's get to the trivia question. What do you call a startup that's valued over $1 billion? The special name for it. It's called a unicorn.
Whoa.
All right. So let me. I know just enough to make me dangerous on these tax lien certificates. If I understand it correctly, if someone buys the tax lien certificate, if the homeowner wants to redeem the property, they would have to pay whatever these person bought it for the tax lien certificate plus X percent. Is it something along those lines, or is that maybe just California?
No, you're doing well. You're doing very well. Well, California is a tax deed state, so they actually sell the deed to the property. But that took 5 years for it to get there. But when the auction takes place, those people don't know it took 5 years from the get. But the point is, you want to know about tax lien certificates. So let's use Florida. In Florida, every year they'll have 1 million certificates available. Of the 1 million available, anybody can go to the auction. It's in all the counties, 67 counties. So if you buy a tax certificate, it's nothing more. I'll show you one right now. Okay, it's nothing more than you can't. It doesn't matter to you, but because they can't see me. But I'm holding up a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. That's all it is. It's a piece of paper.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I want to say is that piece of paper is just that. So when you buy a tax lien certificate, you just bought a piece of paper, but it gives you a right to collect up to 18% in Florida. And so when the people come in to pay, they have to pay that 18% plus any penalties and whatever the tax was. So whatever you paid for the certificate, you get 100% return of capital plus 18%. In Iowa, you get 24%. In Illinois, you get 18%. It depends upon
how long. Like, okay, so if I bought, let's say, it'll just make it simple. $10,000 is what I had to. I bought the tax lien certificate in Florida.
Good.
Is it from that day forward? I'm earning 18% on my money, right? Is that so far so good?
Well, it's 18% annualized. So you're going to get 1.5% for every month you own the certificate.
Until it gets redeemed. Until when? Because at some
Exactly.
point, how long do they
Oh,
have
oh,
until I own the property?
depending upon the state. Florida, it's
Yeah.
2 years. At the end of 2 years, they're either coming in and pay the taxes, or you're going to get the property.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what are the okay? So, obviously sounds really good. I mean, one thing is I don't know how it depends on how big how long the taxes are. If Trump doesn't pay his on Mar-a-Lago, yeah, you're going to spend a lot more than $10,000 for the taxes. But generally,
But you'll know when they advertise it. A tax lien list, they put it. There's so many of them. They put it in the newspaper. There's hundreds of this. Like a
yeah,
place like Tampa, Florida, will have 40,000 certificates available.
that many
This
people are not paying their taxes. That's
1 million
incredible.
available in Florida every year.
That's crazy. So, what are the risks?
The risk is that you don't pay attention to what you're doing. What a lot of people do is they think it's going to be a bargain. So you've
Yeah.
seen properties that are not a bargain, right? So you'll
Okay.
have people in California, they'll look at it and say, well, I'm going to buy that property because everything in that neighborhood is worth 400,000. But they
Yeah.
don't go look at the property. Well, what if it's burned down? What if it's been washed away in a flood? What if it's full
Yeah.
of termites? I mean, you need to boots on the ground. You need to have time to do some due diligence on the property. So there is risk in tax defaulted properties, and there is risk in taxing. Then 99% of the people that go to a tax lien certificate auction, they don't look. They take a huge risk. They never look at the property. What if you bought a ghetto property?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, if it's cheap enough, like $1,000, I mean, even the copper wiring is probably worth more than that if it's still there, right?
Yeah, well, but you're a radio talk show. I'm a guy that's teaching people. I'm going to get sued if I tell someone that.
Well,
And
yeah.
so I tell them, you're going to go and look at that property. If you don't look at the property, you forget it.
Or have, like you said, boots on the grounds. You got to have someone representing you. We'll get into that in just a minute here. This is kind of fun. I like this topic. All right, let's see here. Our third trivia question: what is the deadliest insect? What is the deadliest insect? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with correct answer wins that tanning certificate, which again is worth over $100. I want to make a mention here also for Dr. Wilkinson's Backyard Resort and Mineral Springs, voted best natural hot springs in Calistoga by I can't even do this today. Travel and Leisure Magazine. Call 707-942-4102 or go to drwilkinson.com. All right, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Ted Thomas. Third trivia question: what is the deadliest insect? What do you think, Ted? Anything?
I never even think of insects as being deadly, but I guess a spider, huh?
A mosquito.
A mosquito.
Yeah, probably because of malaria and all that. I'm guessing. I don't make these things up. I just get them from somewhere. You find it on the internet. It's got to be true, right? Let's see here. Okay, so Ted, we're talking about tax lien certificates primarily. Is what we're talking about. So, what are you offering our audience? Because you're on the show.
Thanks. I offer them an education. I'm an educator. I've been teaching people how to do this for 30 years. If they really want to learn how to do it, they can, for 25 or 30 bucks, they can go to a 6-hour class. I do one of those. I do a workshop every other Saturday, 6 hours long. It starts in the Eastern Zone. It starts at 11 in the morning, goes all the way through 5 at night, just to teach people how to do tax liens and tax deeds. At the end of the class, if they want to do something, they can order, products and learn how to do it. So we do everything from take people to auctions to one-on-one coaching to big seminars with 30, 40 people in it. And so we're an educational company is what we are. But we do what we talk about.
Yeah, how do people get a hold of you?
Just go to tedthomas.com. It's the easiest way in the world to do it. But let me give you an address that'll cost a couple of bucks. By that, I mean it costs $23.50. They can just go to, if they want to have a virtual workshop, they can go to tedthomas.com and then just use the code Edward50.
Edward 50. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear some stories. So give us a horror story and a success story.
The horror stories all revolve around people that don't look at the property. And what will happen is, and this happens every year, there's 1 or 5 of these. People don't look at the property, so they know a certain neighborhood. They know that Marin County has very nice properties, but you should be careful maybe in downtown Oakland. But if you bought in the Oakland Hills, that might be very good, or anything in San Francisco is going to be worth a lot of money. And so they establish that attitude, and they'll just buy anything they can to win at the auction. Then when they get there, they found out that it's a property that has an environmental problem. For example, oil spill, something like that, or there's been a fire, or they get there and there's huge fence around it and it turns out to be a junkyard. And so they don't look at the property. So that's a simple one to solve. Anybody could fix it just by doing rule number 1 with me is boots on the ground, go look at the property. The other side of that.
Let me ask you on those, generally, how big a mistake was it for those people dollar-wise? Because if they spend $100, that's no big deal. But if they spend $100,000, that's
but you're probably not going to get a lot of $100 properties unless you're at the auction and they say we're going to have starting bids at 100. Now California actually does that now because they got so many properties people couldn't buy. They now start some auctions, a second or third auction that they have for the. So San Bernardino will have an auction today. They might have another one tomorrow and start everything at $100 to get rid of what they got. So look at the properties. The biggest mistake, I've seen people make $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 mistakes on properties like that. They put big money up thinking they got something great and they didn't. So, I mean, it's not a trivial amount of money. It's a lot of money.
No, it's a lot. And then for boots on the ground, like if they saw something in Louisiana, look from your course, what do they call a local realtor in Louisiana near the property?
The easiest thing to do would be do just what you said. That's very astute. Right away, call you can go online and find out who's the busiest broker in that county and call them. Say, will you look at this property for me? Send me some pictures and so on. Or you can find services that will do that. The first thing you can do is go to the computer, and we teach them to use a GIS mapping system that's a satellite system. They'll go over the property and look at it. And so you can do a lot of things. So that's the biggest mistake. I have people that have bought properties for $60 and sold them for $20,000. I have people that in Tampa recently, like in the last 6 months, bought a property for $9,000 and then they've resold it for $130,000 or $150,000.
Wow!
So there's plenty of times you can make $100,000. I have new students that make $30,000. Well, our minimum standard is we don't teach people to make $5,000 or $10,000. Nobody's going to be able to afford my fees or what I do and make $4,000 or $5,000. We don't look for that client. We want the client to make no less after paying a broker, which I'm always hire a broker, plus we show them ways to sell. After they've done all that, after they've done any repairs, if they're going to do that, then we want them to make no less than 25, but really closer to 50. So you can find colonial houses in New York that are valued at $400 to $600. You can buy those houses for $150 at auction. Boy, there's a market.
Is that because the actual lien was 150, or what it got bid up between?
That would be what it would get bid up to. The liens on it were probably 40 or 50,000 for the years that it didn't pay the taxes in New York. But there'll be bidders. There's a lot of bidders up to 100,000. After 100,000, it's really quiet in the room. After 150, there's no one bidding with you.
And does the excess, if there's only 50,000 owed, does the excess go to the county or does it go to the borrower, or to the previous owner?
Well, a lot of lawsuits taking place in that right now, and it just came out of the Supreme Court. So you've been reading your real estate alerts, okay? All right. The states like New York and like Minnesota have been ruthless, and they took that money and kept it. They no longer can do that.
They now said, hey, the property's ours now because you didn't pay your taxes. We own it now. We can do anything we want with it, right?
And they've been taking properties from little old ladies and whatever, and it's really been bad. Now they have to pay it back.
Oh, okay. So the Supreme Court's making them pay it back to the homeowner.
All the auctions stopped in New York for the last 18 months. Stop.
Wow.
Can't sell a property. They have to go back and review all this. All those people have to be paid back.
Good. I'm glad. It's not like a first mortgage holder. Yeah, taxes always come first, and it's very frustrating because not everybody loves where their taxes are going. I pay a
Exactly.
lot in real estate taxes, and I look around and I go, why are my roads still this bad, and why are these services not happening? And it's very, very
What about
frustrating.
the
So
schools? What about the schools? Whew.
in the schools too, yeah. Yeah, in fact, yeah, that's all the school bonds and stuff, which are extra, which I assume the real estate taxes are all part of that. Okay, we are going to cut to our last commercial break here. Stay with us. You're listening to the Best of Investing. We're going to be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Ted Thomas. We didn't have a trivia question, but Ted, what's your take on real estate foreclosures?
Well, I wrote a best-selling book about real estate foreclosures. It stayed in the bookstore at Barnes and Noble for 12 years.
Wow.
I have trademarked the name Mr. Foreclosure. So
Ah!
you asked the right guy. You asked the guy that question, okay? Foreclosure business is overwhelmed with too many people in it, way
Yeah.
too many people in it. When I was in the foreclosure business, I lived in Danville, California, and Los Angeles would have 1,000 foreclosures a week, 50,000 a year, and now it's an overwhelming amount of people in the business, so it's very competitive. So I actually just transitioned over to tax liens because there were so many people. But I'm not negative on foreclosure. The banks they're very liberal with their money, so they're going to suffer foreclosure because some people have no intention of paying, and if they have no intention, you better get that foreclosure done quickly and get the property back marketed. But I think
Well,
it's
the
I
the
think it's too
benefit
tough.
to the tax lien certificates is that trumps any liens that are on the property. Those taxes come
The,
first.
the tax lien wipes when you buy a tax default property, you're wiping everything off except an IRS lien and a municipal lien.
And
And if you
sometimes
know
the
what you're
IRS
doing,
lien can go away.
I know the
Sometimes,
IRS lien will go away. Okay, you
sometimes,
know that, but the
yeah,
county has to have given notice. So if the county gave notice, the IRS lien will go away. So
yeah.
now your big risk been reduced. But municipal liens don't go away. So
Okay.
municipal liens, you can negotiate them.
Oh, you can. Okay. Is that like
Yes,
a
yeah.
Belarus bond type of thing, or?
Sometimes they say that, you didn't clean up this mess and we're going to charge you so much. You didn't cut your grass,
Oh,
especially in California. And
yeah.
they put a $200 fine on there. Well, after 5 years, $200 a day, it's over the top.
Oh, God.
So,
Yeah. Gotcha.
so,
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. That,
so
that
we
totally
teach
makes sense.
people
Negotiate.
go to the city and say, look, I want to buy that property. How much do I have to pay? And they'll say,
Yeah.
well, what do you want to do? So a $20,000 lien might be, give us $2,000, but have that grass cut the day you, and
Gotcha.
they
So
just want
let
the
me ask
place
you,
cleaned up.
and I'm going to guess also that you probably have students who would say, you know what, I'm probably not going to end up with the property, but earning 18% is a good deal, especially on a pretty well secured investment. Do you get students like that?
The people that buy tax liens don't want property. They hate property.
Okay, they're
They're
just looking
buying for yield. They're after yield. 95 to 97% of all tax liens pay you. Only
I, I,
3%
I
don't
would,
do
I
it.
would, I would think so. Well, you and I are going to talk off the air more about this because I have a little bit of interest in this here.
Okay. Well, it's a good yield if you know how to do it.
Yeah.
When I tell you later about the states that have redemption, those states you're guaranteed to make in Delaware 15%, in Texas you're guaranteed 25%.
Wow. That's
Redeemable
good.
states.
Give out your information one more time to the audience.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. Folks, if you're interested in this, I do a 6-hour, it's an all-day class. Starts at 6, goes to 5 in the afternoon. Bring your friends. Just sit there. It's virtual. We usually charge $47. I'm not an internet marketer, so I don't give anything away. So just go to tedthomas.com, and then the use code is going to be Edward50. Edward50. It's going to cost you $23.50. If you didn't like it, send me a note. I'll give you your money back.
I appreciate that. Okay, so I got two things to say. One, I got a stupid joke of the week, and the other, I've got my regular thoughts for the day. So here's my stupid joke of the week. So last week, I got a refrigerator for my wife. I thought, that's a pretty good trade.
Oh,
And yeah, good thing my
are
wife's
you
not here.
married? I would
Yeah,
tell that too. Oh
she
my
bring
God!
me
You better
that
not
one.
let her listen. Oh my
Okay.
God!
And the
I
other
got
one
a
is okay. So
refrigerator.
I urgently needed a few days off, but I knew the boss would not allow me to take leave. So I thought, you know what? Maybe if I act crazy, then he'll tell me to take a few days off. So I hung upside down on the ceiling and made funny noises. My coworker asked me what I was doing, and I told her that I was pretending to be a light bulb so the boss would come in, think I was crazy, and give me a few days off. Well, sure enough, a few minutes later, the boss comes in the office and asks, "What are you doing?" I told him I was a light bulb. He said, "Wow, you know what? You're clearly stressed. Go home and recuperate for a couple of days." I jumped down and walked out of the office. My coworker started to follow me, and the boss asked her, "And where do you think you're going?" And she goes, "I'm going home too. I can't work in the dark." All right, tune in next
Oh,
week to the best of investing. We're going to be
oh,
giving away more free prizes for answering trivia
oh.
questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.